joining two thrown forms together. This is a demo in making a larger piece out of two thrown pieces. And this is just one way you can do this. And for this piece, I'm trying to make two fairly identical pieces that will be joined to create one larger piece. So what I'm doing now, I'm trying to measure the clay to make sure I have two identical weighing balls of clay. To make forms that are about the same size and shape, it's very important to weigh out the same amount of clay for each piece. So the first ball of clay was about 1200 grams, about 3 pounds of clay. So now I'm adjusting the second ball of clay to be about the same. And throwing these pieces, there's nothing new. So I'll fast forward a little bit, but I'll be making two bowls, which will be combined together, two tall bowls. There's nothing new about throwing bowls now, but I do keep in mind that these pieces are going to be attached rim to rim, and so, or it could be, it doesn't have to be, but any areas that you are attaching together should not be too thin. So if you have a habit of making the lip of the piece very thin, you have to take extra care in making sure that your lip is not too thin. The lip and lip for this piece, I'm going to attach it at the lip of each piece. And so notice how I'm keeping a fair amount of clay in the walls at the top. And also, I'm frequently measuring the width because I want these to fit very nicely. You don't want to open up the form too wide. It's better to take little steps and open up to the right size. So now this is about a day after I've thrown the pieces and I've trimmed the pieces, and now I'm ready to attach. First, I very carefully placed a bowl upside down on my bottom piece, and I'm making sure that the edges meet nicely. Also, another little tip that might help is to bevel the edges where they meet so that there's more surface area. Bevel means giving it an angle. And you can do this without the wheel, but I like doing many things on the wheel, including attaching the two pieces together. Looking for a nice placement where I have a lot of surface area touching, and making sure that the two pieces are centered on top of each other. Now, once you find a good placement for these bowls, I take a needle tool or a pencil, something to scratch and mark the area. 2 points on each piece, so I know how these will align later. And the rest is just slip and scoring and applying pressure very carefully, but applying enough pressure to make sure that these two pieces merge together. So I'm slip and scoring. First, I'm scoring all around the piece, and I do this on both sides, and I attach slip on the bottom piece, very thick slip, you want thick slip for joining slip. And I'll attach this together. If you join at the right timing, maybe about soft leather hard, sometimes you can get away without any scoring. But my piece has dried a little further. It's like a perfect leather hard. So at this stage, I do need to score both sides and apply ample slip. So now I'm also adding water to the top part because again, it's a little drier than I usually want to join, but it will still work. And very carefully, I hold it with 2 hands. Remember, your piece is still soft enough that it flexes, so try to not distort the shape of the piece. If your piece distorts, it's actually a little too soft for joining. Joining at the soft stage is also fine. You just have a little less control, meaning your piece might look a little more organic and uneven, which could be a nice quality as well. So I followed the marks I made for placement, and now I'm applying pressure on the piece, wiggling it into place before I really start applying pressure on the rims to merge the 2 pieces together. I use the round end of my wooden stick tool to really compress the walls together. And don't worry about any lines and texture that you get from this process yet right now. What's important is that these 2 pieces really stick together and become one piece. So the little textures and unevenness you can fix later. Just focus on applying enough pressure to really move the clay on one piece to the other. You can do this top to bottom, bottom to top, diagonally, whatever it takes to really compress and join the pieces together. Now I've gone over the piece once all around, and now I'll take a metal rib. You can use a rubber rib to compress as well as smooth down some of the texture on the joint. And again, don't worry about little surface textures or unevenness that you don't want. You can clean it up later in later stages, leather hard or bone dry or bisqueware even. You can sand it down. You can still scrape off and add more clay even if it's leather hard. So this is my shape for this piece, and you could add a neck to the piece, same fashion, measure the joints together and attach it with bi-slip and scoring. You can add handles, you can deform it into sculpture, cut it up, make it into a lamp, whatever is possible. It's the same process when you join 2 pieces of clay together.